Natural, exactly. And I said, oh, yeah. Tiffany Hayes, we actually did a project together. Well, she was a part of a basketball league back in the day, not back in the day, a couple of years ago here in Atlanta. And she was one of my players because I was the director of operations for this league. So we already had that relationship, right? Important. So now I'm having to start this relationship with the manager, and Tiffany is sharing, hey, I know JQ, I know Spoon, they good people.
Right.
I want to announce my retirement on their podcast.
Wow.
I said, hold up.
Wow.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Sports Told by Youth. I'm your host Kyla, and today we are joined by a very special guest. We are thrilled to welcome JQ. JQ is the owner of JQ Sports and the very popular Count Me Out podcast. Today we'll dive into JQ's experiences, exploring the highs and lows of her journey through college and the valuable lessons she learned along the way. We'll also get a glimpse into her futures and aspirations. So without further ado, let's give a warm welcome to JQ.
JQ, what's up? Welcome.
Thank you. How you guys doing?
Outstanding.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
The pleasure's all ours. So JQ, we do a couple things here before we get started. We got to stop first. How does it feel to see yourself? We're here. We were watching you there.
When I say it is a blessing.
Yes.
To be able to put something together and see it to come to light. Because sometimes, as you guys know, when you're so in the mindset of getting things and executing, you don't have enough time in the day to sit back and see what you put together, see what you created. So it's a good feeling.
Yes,
it's a very good feeling.
I would tell you, and most people that me and you know from being behind the scenes of the podcast, we'll come back to the podcast later, but we know the work that goes into
a lot of work.
What you see, and then I got to compliment you now, the evolution.
Yes.
We watched episode 1 all the way to, I think, the season finale today.
Yes.
And I could see the growth, right?
Yeah.
From where y'all started at, you and Spoon in that studio, to the set you guys are on now. So amazing growth. But we'll come back to that. One of the things we always do here is we like to go around and say what we're thankful for. Our audience didn't see it, but we prayed before we start every show with a prayer. But we like to just go around the room and say what we're thankful for. So I'll start. One of the things I'm always thankful for is just for you taking out the time to swing by here and give our youth viewers, parents, coaches, a glimpse into your world. I think they'll find out a lot about the intangibles, the hard work, the sacrifice, and just the true grit and care you have for athletes, right?
Yeah.
So I'm thankful for you sparing your time, because I tell people, JQ, that for me, my greatest resource on earth is time.
Yeah.
We're not getting any more back. So if I give you my time, I care. I'm sharing something very valuable with me. So I'm thankful for you stopping by and looking forward to the information. What about you, Kai? What are you thankful for?
I'm thankful to be here and to be able to learn more about JQ and how she started.
Nice. JQ, pass to you. What are you thankful for?
I am thankful for my family. We've been through a lot, and being able to fight through trials and tribulations and still remain positive and loving each other unconditionally. You hear so many stories how immediate families break up because of disagreements or different opinions about all kinds of things. But having a good family is, I can't explain it. It's just a blessing. It truly is.
Man, I'm big on family.
Yeah.
My family, we're very close. Just us
I can
four.
tell, and I love it.
But my wife's family, my family, we're all big on family. So shout out to you. So one more thing we'll do before we get into the questions is we got to thank our sponsors. There are some people helping us pay for this. You have some cool Positivity Water. So Positivity Water is a local Atlanta brand. You can find it in Atlanta Walmarts near you.
At Walmart and Target.
And Target.
So make sure you guys go get your Positivity Water and get drinking up.
Get drinking up. So shout out to Positivity Water. Thank you, Positivity Water. So I'm going to take me a good shot.
Oh, I was going to ask you, can I?
Yes, absolutely.
I need a sip.
Of some of this Positivity Water. And then we'll get this thing started. So shout out to Positivity Water.
I love water. And you know, I'm very particular about which water I drink. So that's good. I'm going to have to add that to my list of water that I buy at the grocery store.
Shout out Positivity Water. All right, Kyle, you ready to get kicking?
Yes,
Let's do it.
Our first question.
Okay. First question, JQ. I'll start where we stopped at.
Okay.
On family, right? We get into early life. Kyle asked some questions about that, but you kind of said what family means to you. What role has your family played in your development, your support to getting you to the woman we see now? Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so my parents had me at a very young age, and I was born in Montgomery, Alabama.
Okay.
And then we moved to Los Angeles.
Wow.
So my mom left Alabama with no family in LA. It was just my dad's people. And at a young age, raising a young child, working, not having a lot of family support, it was a lot. Throughout my childhood, my parents, they did a very good job of exposing us to different walks of life.
Yes.
So where we stayed in Los Angeles was Inglewood. And I know you guys know about
We
Inglewood.
lived in Diego for a little while.
Okay, so you know.
Yes.
So we lived in Inglewood, but my parents worked on the outskirts, near Redondo Beach.
Yes.
Santa Monica. So on the weekends, we would go to the beach and we would meet up with my parents' coworkers and play with their, daughters and sons, just so we can get familiar with different experience. And I would say truly that helped pave the way when I start traveling and going to different schools. My parents were very disciplined. With us, we were very disciplined. There was a lot of structure in the household. So a lot of the things that they instilled in us as we were children made me the woman that I am today. Not only just in my business, but in my personal life as well.
Right.
So I give all the kudos to my parents. They did a very good job. And on top of that, they put all 3 girls through college on a basketball scholarship.
So it's 3 of y'all. It's 3 girls.
Of us, yep. And I'm the oldest.
And you're the oldest.
Yes.
Shout out to mom and dad.
Yeah.
I just the way you, and what I always tell people is they're going to hear you and they're going to look at you seeing this on camera, but just your body language, your facial expression when you talk about your family.
Yeah.
I think the true nonverbal is what really.
Yes.
So shout out. And I'm very familiar. But since you said California, before I pass to Kyla, I got to ask.
Okay.
In-N-Out or Five Guys?
In-N-Out. No hesitation. Every time we go out to LA, I have to stop and get me an In-N-Out burger. Now, I will say this. When they first came out, their food was delicious. Okay. Over the years, I guess, when you're in business and you're doing doing very well, things start to not taste the same. So I think the last time that my fiance and I went out there was back in 22. We stopped at In-N-Out by the airport. It wasn't as good.
That's good.
But In-N-Out over Five Guys all day.
Do you remember In-N-Out? You were a little younger.
Yes, we
excuse me. Whoa. My bad. You know what I'm saying?
I did.
All right, well, go ahead. I apologize.
Yeah, I remember.
Okay. Five Guys or In-N-Out? You were still young. You don't
really
remember.
Five Guys.
Really? Why?
We didn't eat it. It was something I ate all the time, but it was I'm just kind of used to
She's gotten Georgianized.
That's turn. What it is. Okay.
In-N-Out definitely, but let me tell you the why.
Okay.
We lived a mile away from In-N-Out.
Okay.
So literally when I left the neighborhood, you had to pass by In-N-Out. I would get a single for the ride. This when I was in good shape too. Right? I was in the Marines running every day. I would get a single for the ride home and a double and fries when I got home. Yes.
Are you serious?
But I was running 6-7 miles a day. I was with the Marines and stuff like that. But I love the burgers, but the fries, they got an expiration time. When you got about 20 minutes
to eat those things, you got to eat them hot and fresh.
Yes. And that's where Five Guys wins. The Five Guys fries.
Best fries.
And I feel like Five Guys actually give you more fries than In-N-Out.
Yes, they do.
They give you a whole bag of fries.
Yeah.
And shout out to anybody watching. What we're talking about right now, In-N-Out is a West Coast chain, burger chain, very good. Five Guys is predominantly on the East Coast. So I'll send it to you, Colin. Now that y'all got me hungry.
Now that we're still on family, what does your dad mean to you? Because I was watching your podcast earlier today, your first episode, and you talked about your dad and your journey through that. Can you talk to us about that?
Yes. So I remember my dad telling me that when we were out in LA and he would go to the basketball courts to play pickup with his friends, he would always bring me. And there was one particular game where I was sitting in the stroller and the ball had bounced towards me and I caught it. Now, I don't know what age I was, right? I'm not going to lie. But I caught the basketball and my dad said, she's going to play basketball. But the thing about it is, when we were in LA, I was only 11 years old. We wasn't playing sports. We didn't get into sports until we moved to Raleigh, North Carolina in year 2000. So my 6th grade year was the very first time that I've ever played basketball. My dad instilled a lot of confidence. He was very patient. He used to train me and my sisters. When he wasn't working, he was always taking us to the gym out in the front yard. I remember saying this on another podcast. It was so bad. Not bad, but my dad wanted us to be, well, for me, because I played the point guard position, he wanted me to be able to dribble with both of my hands at a young age. So guess what he did? When it was time for me to do chores around the house, he would tie my hand, my right hand, which is my dominant hand, behind my back, and I had to do everything with my left hand.
Oh, wow.
So that transition onto the court to where I start doing more drills with my left hand than my right hand. So he definitely was the person that, put us in the forefront of playing, sports, but my mom was also there to support too, but more from a nurturing standpoint. Right. And I got it bad because I was the oldest. So my dad treated me like I was a boy. Right. So I got it the worst. Right. So I got it the worst. But he definitely plays a big role in, my middle school, high school, and collegiate career. Awesome.
And I love the left hand. I remember as a hooper. Yeah. I mean, anybody that hoops knows you got to have a left if you're right-handed, right? Right. Because we cutting you off. I was a player, so I know if you can't go left.
Oh, I'm playing you to your left.
Absolutely, right? So love that. Love that he made you. He knew the weakness in the game. Yeah. So love that. I'll stay with you, guys.
Okay. Where did your love from basketball start to come in, like at a young age?
When I started watching Allen Iverson play. Oof. Allen Iverson was my role model. I had everything from the finger band to the headband to the wristband to the shoes to the jersey. I even rocked cornrows.
Wow.
When I was in middle school. He was my idol. I would watch him. And at the time, my parents were asking me, why aren't you watching, women's basketball? Mm-hmm. And it was just something about Allen Iverson, his confidence, his killer instinct.
Yes.
I wanted to be Allen Iverson. So I would say, honestly, my 7th grade is when the love of basketball started developing.
And I would say she doesn't know much about AI. You gotta get your history lesson and learn about AI. But for me, I was the man on campus when I got those first pair of AIs. The ones that came out with the red and the blue tips. I had the blue tips on them. Like you, we loved AI.
Yes.
And what people don't know about it, what people do know about AI, he was undersized.
Yes.
He did all this probably soaking wet, 180, 70 pounds, 6 foot maybe, you know what I'm saying? And he was vicious. So I'm a big AI fan as well. Staying on basketball, stand on basketball. Let's talk about post-high school, right?
Okay.
If you don't mind me talking about, your recruiting process.
Yes.
I heard you talk about that a little bit. Where you ended up at and kind of where you finished at your basketball career and some of the highs and lows of that.
Yeah. So when I was in high school, my first 2 years, I played at a high school in Franklinton, North Carolina, which was in the country. Starting point guard my freshman year. Of course, I had a lot of the girls that didn't like me for that reason.
Yes.
Number one, I'm not from that area. So they looked at me, who is this girl coming from LA thinking she's going to be the starting point guard of the high school team? So my 2 years at Franklinton, I was the starting point guard. And then I transferred to a high school in Raleigh, North Carolina. Started my 2 years there. The recruiting process for me was hard. I did not feel like I got a lot of support from my high school coach. And I hear that a lot in today's game. I did have the support of my parents, and that's why I give them so much praise because, again, they didn't know anything about getting a free ride or a free education if you played college basketball or any college sport. So they did their research, but I also had some good AAU coaches that was willing to get in contact with coaches and keep those relationships. But I will say when I was in high school even to this day, people talked about D1. Like
that was the end.
That was it. You could not, if you went to a D2 or even JUCO, you were a bum. And I didn't even look that way to D2 JUCO. My mind was set on D1. So it came down to 2 schools, Maryland Eastern Shore, they're in the MEAC conference, Division I, and then Montana State, Division I as well. My mom wanted me to go to UMES, Maryland Eastern Shore. My dad wanted me to go to Montana. Montana wanted to redshirt me my freshman year. You tell an athlete that's been playing the starting point guard position every single team she won.
That's tough.
Okay.
You're a competitor. The mindset.
I'm not going to a college to sit on anyone's bench. Right. I had the grade, so it wasn't that I needed to be redshirted for grades or anything like that. They just knew because they had upperclassmen that played the same position as me, they wanted me to sit back and learn.
Not waste that year.
Exactly. But I'm like, what? Sit on somebody's bench? No, ma'am. Maryland Eastern Shore, what you talking about? Okay. Now, Maryland Eastern Shore, a very special situation. There was a starting point guard. She's a senior. Mm-hmm. But the coach at the time told me, if you come in and you play your butt off and you work hard, you will have a starting position at least by the second season. Okay. So of course, the first part of the season, I played backup point guard, getting playing time, maybe 10, 15 minutes per game. Unfortunately, the starting point guard violated a team rule. So guess what?
Voila.
Here I am, starting point guard of Maryland Eastern Shore. And I tell anybody, defense is what got me my Division I scholarship. I would tell anybody that. I was the Jason Kidd before he started shooting.
Right.
Okay. I was the pass first. I wanted to put everybody in the right place so they could make me look good. Like I'm the one that passed you the ball and you got 15, 20 points. Unfortunately, that situation at Maryland Eastern Shore didn't go as I wanted. So that's when I transferred to a JUCO in Texas.
And JQ, before you go into JUCO, I want to put a feather right there if you don't mind. Looking back at that red shirt situation, and now I know you advise and you talk to a lot of athletes now, would you, if you had an athlete now that was presented with opportunity to red shirt, are your thoughts still the same? No. What would you?
I would tell them to look at the bigger picture. I get it. Kids don't want to sit.
Right.
They want to play immediately. They want to get the name recognition.
Because that's what they see.
Because that's what they see on social media. Social media can be a good gift and a curse. And I know we'll talk about that later. But when you look at the bigger picture of where you can be down the road. Now, again, I know the transfer portal, it's shaking things up a little bit. But if you have an opportunity where you can grow with that program and become the woman or the man on campus, take that opportunity. Again, I get it why some people don't want to sit and wait because they're so in a rush to have things happen for them. But sometimes patience is what's going to get you further ahead in life. So no, my mindset now when I'm talking to young kids is figure out what you want, figure out what that situation looks like, and make the best decision on what you want to do. Because I'm going to be honest, along with my decision not going to Montana State, of course I had people in my ear.
Right, absolutely,
like,
always.
Why are you going to redshirt? Like you doing a really good job in high school. Why are you going to sit on somebody's bench? So I allowed a lot of negative thoughts in my head. So
and there's a lot of those people around. And I tell athletes all the time, make sure you do your research. And know who you're talking to. Is this somebody? Review their life before you take their. Not saying there's nothing bad, but I think sometimes people don't do their homework before they tell people something. They act off emotion, and this sports is a business.
It's a business.
it's a big business.
And I think that's an element that seems to be not spoken of amongst the youth community.
Yes,
parents. High school players, they don't understand at the end of the day, it's a business.
It's a business.
Don't take it personal. When this college coach tells you, unfortunately, we're no longer interested in you, don't take it personal. Because guess what? They have to feed their family.
Absolutely.
So they're going to choose who they need to keep a job. So if it's not you, don't take it personal.
Yes.
Just move on to the next option that you have.
And go to work.
The
thing I challenge kids is ask them, hey, coach, why not?
Why not?
Because I need to identify that fit that weak spot, blind spot, and go work on it because somebody else might identify it.
That's what you do in an interview.
Right.
When you go in and apply for a job.
Absolutely.
May I ask why was I not chosen for this position? Is there anything that I can work on to get a position at your job or your establishment? Those are the questions that need to be asked. But unfortunately, parents are not having these type of conversations because they see their son being the next LeBron James or Jason Tatum. Not everybody gets that opportunity.
And we'll come back to that. I put it because I want to make sure that's why you exist, right?
Yeah,
Part of the reasons, one of those reasons. But you was going about JUCO, and I know I took you down the road. You was going to the JUCO now.
Yes. Yep. So I was at Angelina College. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, I got off track and I failed 2 classes.
Oh, wow.
Never failed a class a day in my life. But because I got caught up in boyfriends and love,
oh, wow,
I failed 2 classes. And back in the day, in order for you to go back to D1, because my mindset was, if I go to JUCO, go back to D1. And I was okay sitting out this time around because I knew I had no other choice. So when I had the opportunity to play at North Texas and Louisville coming out of JUCO, I decided to not go to summer school to get my associate's degree. So instead, I went to Division II. Got to St. Andrews. You asked me earlier, when did the love of the game started? Mm-hmm. I hate to say this because I've never said this before.
Exclusive.
But my last 2 years of college, the love of the game started going down for me because we had a losing record. And I hated to lose. Think about it. Leading up to that point, our team, we were winning.
Right.
Then I get to this school, it's losing records both years. So my senior year, I had to make a decision. Do I pursue basketball professionally going overseas, or do I find a job? I didn't want to go overseas because I knew my family members wasn't going to be able to come see me play.
Right.
As I mentioned earlier, family is important to me. So I decided to go to grad school because as athletes, there's 2 things that athletes are going to focus on. That's school and ball. Mm-hmm. I don't know what career I want to get into.
Right.
So I went straight into grad school and got my master's degree in communications with a specialization in human resources at Liberty University.
Love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it. Kyle, and great. So much you just said. I think when people hear this, that can be gleaned from it.
Yeah.
Right? The lows, the highs, the loss of basketball.
Yeah.
But you persevered. And I'm sure a lot of that comes from your dad, your mom, right?
Yes.
We can't stop. Education was planted there. The buck doesn't stop after the basketball stops dribbling. So
it doesn't.
Huge shout out to you finishing it up. Back to you, Kyle.
Okay, so let's go into more recent days. What inspired you to become a host and start your podcast?
Great question.
Great question. So, Spoon, my co-host, knows this. My fiance that does our behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. He actually encouraged me to put on the podcast. Shout out to FFTV, by the way. Mm-hmm. It came about because I had an opportunity to work with another group of people, and that project fell through. Our first interview that I was able to get us was with Flau'jae Johnson.
Get out of here.
I'm
Big
so
foe.
serious. Big foe. We had the opportunity to interview her, and we did the interview at Berkmar High School. Now, we didn't know this until she showed up, but she was shooting a documentary at the time. So just imagine, we had maybe, I want to say 8 to 10 cameras in there. It wasn't something that I was used to. I'm used to maybe 3 or 4 cameras.
Right.
But she was shooting a documentary, so they had their camera crew, and then the podcast had their camera crew. When I say it was unbelievable, she did a fantastic job. She was a pleasure to interview. Unfortunately, that project fell through. The episode never came out. So what Spoon did now, how Spoon came in apart, is Spoon was one of the co-hosts. So of course, when that project fell through, we were mad. We were devastated. What's going on?
That's big.
That's big. We saw the vision.
Because this is about a year ago. She's at the height of
So she
LSU.
So this is about 2 years ago. This is before she went to LSU.
She was a freshman. Okay, she was on the way out.
She was on her way out of high school. And Spoon saw the vision JQ, when we got to do our own thing. And I'm like, I don't know. I told you off camera, I'd rather be behind the scenes.
Right.
I wasn't trying to be in front of the camera, interviewing people or anything like that. But I said, you know what? This would be a great opportunity for me to create a platform to continue to educate and provide value to the sports community. So that's how we came about the Count Me Out podcast. Now the name. I'm very strategic about everything that I do. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of hard to come up with a name for the podcast.
It is, trust me.
And I wanted something that the day-to-day person can relate to, no matter what lane you're in, fashion, art, science, whatever that is, whatever goals, aspirations that you have. At some point during your journey, you're going to be counted out, right? So on our podcast, we interview achievers that are here that's still looking to excel, but we're also interviewing individuals that are here that is just starting out and they're looking to grow. So when people ask me why the counting me out name, that's the reason why.
And I love it because just what you said.
Yeah.
Everyone has a counted out moment.
Yes.
I don't care who you are. You've been doubted.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I'm willing to bet that it propelled you.
Yes.
It propelled you and Spoon to get.
Exactly. And then, like I said, during my childhood, middle school, high school, I've been counted out by my coaches. I was there, politics plays a big role. I was considered as the outcast of the team. I wasn't from North Carolina. I was a great athlete. I didn't kiss butt. Like, I wasn't the type of person that wanted to hang out with the clique. I was always to myself. And sometimes that intimidates people. That makes people mad. Like, oh, why is she not up under me? You know? So I thought about that. I thought about those things when I came up with the name of the podcast.
I love the name. Count me out. It just resonates. And we're talking about you mentioned naming. I was in that same thing here. I was texting friends. Yeah. What do you think about this? And we wanted to make it a play on words. And people gave me ideas, but look, it's sports told by youth, play on their words. And we don't know. It may go into the rebranding, but like you, I wanted the names when you see it. Yeah. It's sports told by kids, right? So I understand what goes into to that rebranding. Anything else, Kyle? Well, let me ask you this. Your podcast is going. I want to ask, let's talk about the growth of the podcast. Okay. I saw episode 1. Let me back up even further than that. I graduated from LSU like in 2 weeks. I'm from Louisiana, as you know. Huge LSU. If you go take one step back in that theater room,
Saints and LSU.
It's Saints and LSU.
Oh, well, okay.
I'm a big, I'm Vegas. I'll be there. LSU opened up against USC. I'll be out there to watch the game. Poster. I'll say I'm a big, obviously, Floje and Angel Reese and stuff like that. Man, I can't believe y'all didn't get that one.
When I say I was heated, I bet
you were
heated. For one, you mentioned earlier off camera, you got to value my time.
Yes.
Time you don't get back.
No.
So we're doing all these meetings. I'm having to secure Flage.
Right.
I'm having to talk with her mom days in advance, trying to get everything situated. Hey,
time and everything.
Everything. Like, that's not just a one phone call. Right. Remind you, she's also doing music. So she's in a studio. She's shooting a documentary. So I felt like my time was being wasted. And not only that, think about this. That makes me look bad. Even though it's not my project or my podcast, but I'm affiliated with that. And that's why I try to be so careful of who I affiliate myself with.
Important.
Because that leaves a stain on JQ. Oh, last time we did an interview with JQ, they didn't even push it out for whatever reason. So now if I go and reach out to her again, they're going to think about that.
Absolutely.
Is my time going to be wasted? We could be doing something else. But instead, we took time out of our busy day to go do this interview, and it never came out.
And the beauty of it is that I want people to know, I can hear in your voice, that moment made you guys better. Like your business practices, the way you approach stuff, your questioning, screening is probably a lot different than you dotting I's, crossing T's, because again, I don't want that feeling of being left at the altar, you know what I'm saying, when stuff don't go right. So
exactly.
And I brought you back there because just to say I'm an LSU fan.
Yeah.
To say I'm graduating LSU in my master's.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
What are your master's in?
Leadership and development. Being in the Marines.
Okay.
And I was also going to tell you, you were talking about brand and marketing a little bit. For Verizon now, I'm a marketer. So you were talking about the name.
Yes.
We spend millions and thousands of dollars on words. What matter? What gets people's attention? Does it resonate with people? So I think you did a great job with Count Me Out. Back to hosting.
Okay.
How has it been? The evolution? How has it been getting guests? document. Like, talk about that. I know the struggles. I won't even call them struggles with people. It's time consuming. But what has been y'all growth in the podcast?
Yes, so we shot our first episode March of 2023. Shout out to the Culture Lab. I remember when he had like an open house where he was inviting people in that wanted to do a podcast. I'm an overthinker. So I'm standing in there in this room with, I can't remember the owner name, but we were in the room, we were having a conversation, and I had my notepad with all these questions, and he's like, JQ, you're overthinking it. Just come in, we have the equipment that you need, and just shoot. 2 months went by, and we shot our first episode at the Culture Lab. Our first guest was Peyton Marshall. At the time, he had committed to Auburn, but then decommitted and then committed to overtime, and now he's at Mizzou. And I knew, or we knew at that moment, we had something special. So like you mentioned earlier, it is very time consuming.
Yes.
Because you have to book the venue. You have to contact the guests. Now, I will say this, Spoon has played a big part.
Shout out to Coach Spoon, right?
Yes, Coach Spoon. Shout out to Coach Spoon. He has done an amazing job with getting some of the guests that we've got on our show. Relationships.
Matter.
And I want to stress
yes,
this.
Yes, please.
I want to stress this. It is so important that when you meet people, you want to leave with a good impression. People don't remember what you did for them or what you said. They remember how you made them feel. So with Spoon having this aura that he has about himself, he's always positive.
Yes.
And people know that I can be at a grocery store and someone might be in line with me and we're talking about, just different stuff. And then I'll mention my podcast and I'll show them, hey, this is our Instagram page. Hey, is that Spoon? Everyone knows Spoon here in Georgia. But it's also because he's a good person. So with Spoon being part of the team, he's able to get some of the guests that we have on our show. And then I have to give it up to my behind the scenes, FFTV and Megan. Megan actually started as my intern for JQ Sports PR.
Wow.
But then when we started the Counting Me Out podcast, she wanted to get into video work. So I said, you know what? Let's make this transition, help out with the podcast. I already have FFTV, so he's training her on photos and videography and things like that. So without them two, Lord Jesus, I don't know where we would be.
Right.
So it definitely takes a team. And when we made that change to switch venues, it was because my vision had changed.
Absolutely.
Like I commended you off camera. Your setup, I wish you guys can see it. Your setup is fantastic, and it speaks a lot without you even having to say anything. It is a reputation of who you are and what your brand is all about. When we moved to Extraordinary Content House, shout out to SEC, their setup is basically an Airbnb that has different rooms with different setups. So we're able to choose any room that we want. The hospitality.
I love this one too. I don't know if this is I hope I'm saying this, but
yes.
It looks inviting.
Very inviting. We had Emmanuel the Prophet. I would never forget this. He came in and said, I feel like I'm on the Ellen show.
Right. That's what JQ, I don't want, but no stuff. I was watching this when it popped up, and I'm sitting here like, man, maybe we need a triangular couch just for, we got the chairs for the desks, but I'm like, I love the couch setup. Babe, you here.
It makes the guests feel, like you said, inviting.
Yes.
Welcome, calm, because that's the type of feeling that we want. Because when you make your guests feel comfortable, guess what? They're going to talk to you.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. If you make them feel like, oh, I feel uptight, I got to be fake, I'm not going to loosen up. I might not say something that I really want to express. But when you make them feel in that capacity, you're going to get more out of your guests when you make them feel comfortable.
You hear that, right? Mm-hmm. JQ just dropped some bombs. And typically at JQ, what we do is we typically shoot on like a Saturday.
Yeah.
And I'll have them back to back. We kind of shoot a bunch of content in one day, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so we have Chick-fil-A, M&M's, and because I'm in my business world, you always have refreshments out for people.
Yeah.
And it breaks the ice. People get to talking and comfortable. So JQ just reminds you of why we do some of the things we do. And so I'm sorry, I got you off again.
It's okay.
Content Studio.
If you guys are wondering, we're pointing at the TV right here. We're not pointing to like existence.
So the growth is there. You guys have came a long way. And what I love is you guys are doing it seems, in season.
Yes.
You just wrapped up season
2. I'm all about pacing.
I like this.
So a lot of people, I'm new to the podcasting.
Same here.
Right? You're watching these YouTube clips, Instagram influencers that are into the podcasting, and you're hearing different opinions and different tricks and hacks, thousands, on what you should do. And I remember telling Fonz, I said, I want to do this at our own pace. Things are going to present themselves in the right timing. I would rather pace ourselves and have the quality to look A1 than trying to push out all these episodes and the quality is not that good. So what we decided was, okay, we hear people, and even to this day, I hear people say, oh, you got to shoot more. But what people don't realize is it's expensive.
Expensive to shoot more.
It's
expensive.
Time consuming. I don't know if you guys know this, but I also have a 9-to-5.
Right. Same.
A very demanding job.
People forget that.
They forget that. And then 2, I have to reiterate multiple times that what funds the Counting Me Out podcast is JQ Sports PR.
Yes.
So if there are no clients for JQ Sports PR, there's no podcast. So
they go together.
They go together, exactly. And I think people miss that. Right? They think, oh, you just set up a camera, you just invite a guest, they show up. Most of the time, sometimes you might get a cancellation. So now you got to think on your toes on what you're going to do.
Absolutely.
It's just so much that goes into it that I don't think people really put.
And there's like a lot of episodes that like are already filmed, but you have to get them edited.
But you have to put them. And editing, thank goodness, I don't have to worry about that because I can't do it. It's very time consuming.
We just talked about it off camera. JQ, you just said something that I want to take a second, just throw something in. Had a great idea. I want to start a podcast.
Okay.
Get a camera, you shoot, blah, blah, blah. People think it's so easy. Something simple as when I was shooting outside of my home, getting people to park. You know what I'm saying? Where do I park at? That's a whole... So now I got to stop shooting, or if my wife's, who's there to go to make sure they're... Because we were shooting at these lofts and studio where parking is restricted.
Yeah.
It's little stuff that you don't account for that has to be accounted for.
Yeah.
And then you said something again that I think is so important. The pace.
Yeah.
Watching your stuff over the last few days has made me realize, because again, we're building in flight.
Yeah.
And I have a 9-to-5.
Yeah.
I'm in grad school.
Yeah.
But people when I shoot content.
You have a family.
I have a family, right? Not just sports, swimming and stuff like that.
Right.
People want content. Like I want to see the interviews. I'm about 9 interviews deep. I have so much stuff that we went to LSU 2 weeks ago and shot players and stuff like that.
Yeah.
3 interviews.
Wow.
Because I have...
It's a lot of content.
And then the timing has to be right. Do I have enough followers? Is it going to resonate with people? I want to make sure the stuff gets out there. So it's a lot. Anybody that's thinking about starting a podcast...
You want to have a strategy.
Yes.
So this is going to sound a little contradicting because sometimes we wait for the perfect moment to do stuff, right? Sometimes you just have to do it.
Right.
You want to start a podcast? Start recording off your phone. Just get started.
I agree.
Sooner or later, it's going to develop and evolve in what you really wanted. But then when you get to that point where you feel like, okay, I got to pace myself. I want to make sure what I'm putting out falls into, does it resonate with my audience? Is it strategic? What's trending right now that can help the traction? So we had a episode with Tiffany Hayes. Tiffany Hayes, at the time, she was playing, I want to say was it the Phoenix? I think so. I can't remember. But her manager had told me, hey, she's thinking about retiring. Oh, that's great. I didn't even bring up, see, this is about to come full circle. Listen.
Right.
He approached me and said, hey, I saw you have a podcast. We really love what you guys are doing.
Don't you love those moments?
I love it.
Those confirmations
yes.
from God. Like, because I don't know about you, JQ. I've had days I'm like, I could be on a golf course.
I could be doing something else. I could be sleeping, catching up on my Netflix, binging on my favorite shows. But he said, JQ, this podcast that you guys have, we love it. And Tiffany is very particular about who she shares her information with. Because if you know anything about Tiffany Hayes, she doesn't do a lot of interviews. Right. Okay. So I said, oh, okay. So that sounds great. I'm trying to figure out what is he trying to get at. And I wasn't pushing because I don't want to do that. I want things to be authentic. Natural, exactly. And I said, oh, yeah. Tiffany Hayes, we actually did a project together. Well, she was a part of a basketball league a couple of years ago here in Atlanta. And she was one of my players because I was the director of operations for this league. So we already had that relationship, right?
Important.
So now I'm having to start this relationship with the manager, and Tiffany is sharing, hey, I know JQ, I know Spoon, they good people.
Right.
I want to announce my retirement on their podcast.
Wow.
I said, hold up.
Wow.
I said, you're not telling me, Fabian, which is her manager. I said, Fabian, you lying.
Look at God.
Look at God.
Won't he do it?
Showing out.
Right.
I said, Fabian, are you sure? Mind you, we're not celebrities. Spoon and I, we're not celebrities. She wants to announce her retirement from the WNBA.
On your show.
On our podcast.
It's huge.
It's huge. So I said, of course, let's make it happen. When she announced her retirement, what she did was she waited until after they had played a game because she didn't want to cause any, distraction. So that goes back to what you said about strategy. Is it going to resonate with the audience? So she said, we're going to wait, or the manager, Fabian, said, we're going to wait to post this because we don't want any distractions. We posted the day before she goes on social media. Next thing I know, I have the WNBA and our Counting Me Out podcast DM asking, hey, can we use this clip? Who do we give credit to? And then our DMs and our like just started rolling in. When I say God was showing out.
Yes.
Tiffany and I, Tiffany, myself, and Spoon, we known each other 2017. We lost contact. And then all of a sudden, she wants to announce her retirement on our podcast. Now she's back in the league. So she wasn't gone for too long. Right. She's with the Las Vegas Aces, which was a great strategic move. Yes. But just moments like that.
It's just powerful.
Powerful.
And again, you said full circle. Anybody listening, relationships matter.
Genuine relationships.
You don't get many first impressions. Treat people right, kind, and it may not come back every time, but moments like this where it shows you how those relationships matter. So one thing I want to talk about, just the growth, and I'll give back to Kyla. 30K views. You guys are doing numbers on YouTube. And listen, from somebody who's getting started, because that's another conversation I got to have with Fonz offline. Like,
he's my marketing director.
So trying to go from, and all these different platforms, right?
Yes.
We have on Instagram, but YouTube is where, trying to monetize there. It's a lot to get 30K views.
It's a lot. And when I say he does this full time, and he does his research.
Yes.
And you can't trust everybody.
Absolutely.
With information, right? But I've been blessed to have him as my partner. So when I talk to him and tell him this is the vision that I have for the podcast, what do we need to do? I'm all ears because I know this is his lane.
Right.
He's the expert. I'm not an expert in marketing with podcasts and things like that on YouTube. So when he told me what we needed to do, I let him have full control.
Wow. Shout out to him. Shout out to Fonz for that.
He's
doing a hell of a job.
And on top of that, we've went viral on Instagram. We had the Tiffany Hayes. We had Santia Deck. Santia Deck, she's the only female sports influencer that has her own sneaker called Tronos. Wow. Shout out to Santia. I used to be her PR a couple of years ago. Her video went viral because we asked the question, because she's into sports and now women's sports, where do you see women's sports in 5 or 10 years? The video clip went so viral that I don't know his name. I know Fonz is going to get me for not knowing his name, but he's really big in the podcast community. He reposted it and did a podcast clip showing our clip
as a teaching moment.
Fawn's cousin that stays out in North Carolina sent us the screenshot of the screen recording because we didn't know anything about it.
Right.
Cleveland. And so when we got the video clip, we're like, wait, where's this coming from?
We didn't do it right.
We didn't do this. Right. We just posted. But again, that goes back to being strategic. Now, I'm really good at that. I know what clips, and it's not just for clickbait. What I'm doing is when I watch the full episode, yes, I'm pulling out clips that I know is going to resonate.
Like the teasers.
Like the teasers, and cause traction for people to go and watch the YouTube clip. Because that's what it is.
That's what it is. That's all. And like you have to have those moments.
Yeah, the build up. There you go.
I love that, JQ. And we had our first little viral moment. And my mom always tells me, don't call it Lil. Everything you do is big,
it's
right?
It's big. There
right.
You go.
My mom always
there you go.
gets me when you say Lil. We had Hilton on here. Hilton's one of the biggest route king. His son's at Wake Forest. And what I love about those organic moments is
Wait, what did you say his name was?
Hilton Alexander, Route King.
Route King?
Route King, yeah.
I follow him on Instagram.
Yes.
That's when you said Route King?
That's like a family friend.
Yes.
My wife and his wife have been knowing each other for years.
Okay.
He was one of the first people I called. Like you said, relationships.
Yeah.
Bro, anything you need, I'm there for you. He had worked a full day. And he came, and he was just like you, Jake. He was just talking genuinely about a moment in his son. When I tell you, when I saw that moment, it resonated with people. We made it to the For You page. And it was only like 100. It's over like 100,000 likes. And
that's a lot.
These things get millions. Some of these posts, but for us, in that moment, it's so important what you put out.
Yeah.
And so people always like make reels. I'm like, bro, I'm trying to find the right moment.
The right moment.
Because even me, like when I watch Instagram, if it doesn't say nothing, I'm scrolling. I'm moving on. So I'm gonna get back to Kyla. Me and you, we probably talk all day. I'm sorry, Kyla. Back to you.
I want to say one more like thing about that, but like it also is like our goal for like this podcast was like not to have like super long videos, but like he's probably the longest video we ever have. Like certain people, you can see like the patterns.
But do you know why? Because I'm pretty sure that Route King provided a lot of valuable information.
Absolutely.
When you have someone as a guest on your show this word is overused, dropping gems, right? People are tuned in.
Yes.
If you have a guest on there and they're like giving you blah responses, people are not going to watch the videos. That's why we're very particular on who we have on our show. I get DMs all the time. What substance do you have? I had one girl, look, I have nothing against Instagram models, okay?
Right.
But I had one girl, she had maybe over 100K followers. And she asked if she could be on a podcast. And I asked her, I said, so what do you do? She said, oh, I'm an Instagram model. Number one, it doesn't align with our brand.
Right, absolutely.
And number two, what substance, what valuable information
can you give
to our audience? It's not going to work.
And JQ, I'll say this we'll talk about it probably that's been a struggle for me sort of because I really want the podcast to teach interview skills.
Yeah.
Because when kids walk in here, a lot of people don't know what's behind. They see the show, but they don't realize like when they walk in and see all the cameras and lights, it gives them a different feel, right? Yeah. And so a lot of it is teaching and coaching for me, but some of it isn't. Their families love it. I mean, they absolutely love those episodes. But from a brand perspective, and people do appreciate what we're doing, but some of them is more just I wish I can use it as a coaching tape for you and your family advice. So I'm in that lane too, trying to figure out what's the right pace, what's the right balance, because some of them, they're literally learning on the go, like one word answers, and you can see me coaching, and which is perfectly fine for me. Yeah. But again, like we talked about, funding, the time of this stuff, you got to do stuff that moves the needle.
Exactly.
I apologize, Kyla. Back to you.
It's fine. Okay, I want to ask you about something that I was interested about. Where do you get your glam from, and when you do all of
my glam? What glam do I have?
Like your makeup and stuff.
So I'm a tomboy at heart. Okay, I'm not a professional makeup artist. I learned from YouTube. Anything you want to learn how to do, YouTube. Depending on what it is. But my glam, I'm just me. I've always been that way. Everybody is not going to like me. Mm-hmm. They're not going to like the way I look. They may not like the way I sound. They may not like the way that I dress or wear my hair or whatever. But guess what? It's who I am. I'm really big on being yourself and staying true to yourself. Because I think people will gravitate towards that more, because when you start looking like everybody else and sounding like everybody else, there's nothing unique about you. So when you ask me where I get my glam from, it's kind of hard for me to answer that, because I'm just me. I'm not into, now every so often, you know, I have on a name brand. Fawn's got me into wearing Jordans. I'm not a big Jordan person. I wear a pair of shoes from Forever 21 or H&M that if they look nice. Like I'm just a very basic individual. I don't need a lot. My personality shines through, so I don't need, you know, certain clothes and hair, makeup, body feet. I'm good. I'm fine.
So JQ, I want to make sure we just talked about PR. What is JQ Sports PR?
And where did it come from?
Yes.
What's the history? Educate us on that.
Okay, so let me break this down. JQ comes from when I was at Liberty. I was a part of a local TV show. I had my own show called On Cue with JQ. It was terrible. I was basically the 1 and 6 in Park without the co-host and the live audience.
Oh, wow.
So I will pick 10 songs, the 10 top trending songs for that week, do an intro, do an outro, and that was my show. I would do that each week. The producer of the show had a very hard time pronouncing my name, Jaquise. So he said, "Are you okay with me calling you JQ?" I said, "Yeah," and it has a nice ring to it,
yes.
right?
People remember JQ.
There you go. See, you jumping ahead. See, I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna get there, coach. Okay. So I said, you know what? That sounds really good. It sounds really good, and it flows off the tongue pretty well. When I left Liberty, I moved back to Raleigh, and I started doing online radio. I used JQ as my name because what I wanted people to do was, when you hear JQ without hearing the voice, you automatically think it's a guy. So then when you hear my voice on the radio, wait, that sounds like a girl. Let me go look up. That's traction coming to our page. Now they're wanting to know who was JQ. So I kept that because of a marketing tactic. Exactly. Sports, obviously, because I played sports and I love sports. And then the PR, public relations, that's my passion. I like to be behind the scenes. We spoke about this off camera. I enjoy being behind the scenes, delegating and making things happen. So that's how the name came, JQ Sports PR. JQ Sports PR is a sports branding and marketing company or firm. So what I do is I help athletes with their branding and their marketing, online presence, offline presence. So for example, let's say Kyla, what sport do you play, or what sport do you like to play?
I do flag football and I competitively swim.
Okay, so let's do the swimming, right? Let's say you are, what grade are you in?
I'm going to the 7th grade.
You're going to say, girl, give me. Reach over. Y'all doing a good job with her.
Thank you.
So let's say if your mom and your dad said, hey, Kyla is getting a lot of attention. She's going into the 9th grade. She wants to swim competitively in college. What do we need to do? So you guys will hire me as a consultant. So what I would do is I would help you brand your online presence. I will either myself or my fiance or another videographer or photographer in the area will come out and get highlights, right? Do content day. But what we would also focus on, I know that you love to swim, okay? But I also want to start thinking about what other elements outside of your passion for sports can we start implementing into your personal brand? What do you like to do outside of swimming and playing flag football? That's non-sports related.
I like to cook.
So what we'll do is, hey, so on Saturday, we're going to go out to the pool, get some shots, you're doing workouts, and then we're going to head back to your house, figure out what quick meal you want to whip up, and we'll get video content of that.
Wow.
The reason why we do that is because, you know, not everybody gets the opportunity to play at the professional level, right? So let's just say your swimming career doesn't go the way that you want, but you love to cook. You might want to come out with your own cooking show. You've already started at a young age, and that's going to evolve over the years. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Let's say if you wanted to be interviewed by a TV show host. What I would do as your PR consultant or your brand manager is I would reach out to that producer of that show and pitch you so they can interview you. Being on podcasts, showing up as a special appearance at a red carpet event. Now with NIL, let's say, again, cooking. Let's say there is a business owner that's coming out with a new whipping tool, right? And they need help of getting this product out to the public, out to their fans. You have a very great online presence and they know that you're into cooking. You have a high influence because you're an athlete. One thing about companies, they love using athletes.
Absolutely.
Because athletes has a very high rate of influencing other people to buy into their product or their, it's proven. Okay. So this business owner, they see your Instagram. You don't have crazy stuff posted on your social media. You're not taking pictures at the gas station. We'll talk about that later. It looks very well put together. Your online resume. That's what your social media is. Your online resume. Everything is put into place. They want to pay you to do tutorials or using their product while you cooking up your favorite meal. And see, those are the things that parents and high school athletes are not thinking about right now.
Nope.
And I hate to say this, but it bothers me and it frustrates me that within the Black community, we are so reactive and not proactive. You talked about people not doing their research. Everything is online.
Everything is there.
Everything is online. So take that time. I don't care if it's 20, 30 minutes a day. Take that time and do your research. What does my son or my daughter need to do to build a personal brand? You don't have to be the starting point guard, the starter player on the football team or volleyball team to start creating your own personal brand. Right. And conversations that surround that topic are not being held.
No.
Not like it should.
And it's a tragedy, unfortunately.
Yeah, it is.
Because I think what you're doing extends well beyond the court. The stuff that you're doing for them sets them up for, like I said, when the ball stops bouncing.
Exactly. And I have to add to this. When you go back on my social media, Kyla, back in 2012, remember NIL was just passed in 2021. Mm-hmm. When you go back on my social media in 2012, I was talking about building a personal brand. Building a brand to help you make that transition from being a college athlete to now just a number in the world. Because when you go and work for Enterprise or a property management company, they don't know you as the big man or the popular girl on campus. You're just another number to them. So if you're starting early with putting your mindset into, okay, if I don't make it in my sport professionally, I can fall back on being a professional in this career. And I speak from experience. When I made that when I made that transition out of grad school, I had 3 jobs. I worked as a waitress for 2 restaurants, and I was a camp counselor for the city of Raleigh. Now, if anyone knows me, I'm not good with kids. I used to be not good with kids. You have to have a lot of patience.
Yes.
3 jobs. I had no idea what career I wanted to go into because, again, as an athlete, we're, I don't want to say brainwashed, but we're trained to think about sports and school.
That's it.
That's it. Because if we don't have the grades, we can't play the sport, right? So we're trained, and that's what we think about 24/7. So back in 2012, I didn't know anything about the NIL being passed in 2021. I'm speaking from number 1 experience because I went through it. Right. And then number 2, I see it happen. A lot of athletes fall into depression because while they're in college, they use their sport as their self-identity. So now that they in the real world, no one knows them. Yes. So, oh, dang, man, nobody knows who I am. Nobody want to hear at work that you was the big man on campus. How can you make this company money? Like, they don't care about that, what happened 2 years ago at the college you were at. It doesn't work that way. So if you start building your personal brand at an early age, that can transition to something to where you can become a professional outside of your sport. I know I just went off on but I speak with so much passion because it irks me that these conversations, and I'm going to say this, we have to start holding these parents accountable. These kids are kids.
Absolutely.
Parents have to have these conversations, no matter if you don't need your child to be your best friend. So if you're telling them something that they don't want to hear, that doesn't matter to you.
Right.
You're trying to help them be successful in the future. I can go on and on. Go ahead.
No, JQ, I'm just as passionate about what you're saying, because as a 42-year-old man who's similar to you, I was an athlete. So much you said was I was wrapped up in kind of a similar story, right? Nobody told me some of these things, and I had to figure it out the long way. Thank God I made it to be very successful. But now I'm like you. I want to preach the word that, guys, listen, this stuff matters. If I wasn't able to communicate, if I didn't understand a long time ago what a brand meant, I was telling my kids, your last name is a brand. When you walk out this house and you say you're a Griffin, that's no different than Nike. That BMW outside there, there's no different. It means something. So I'm with you. I want those conversations to be had. We need to hold these parents accountable. And look, we'll go spend. I see these kids. They got on $500 pair of shoes.
Come on.
They got
Coach.
Some of the best equipment. But you want to invest in something that's going to be. And this is the other part. And you got me on a tangent now. This is the other part that struggles. And I'm looking at the camera. This is the other part that struggles me with parents. The numbers, I am an athlete and a coach. I love sports. But the numbers are staggering. I have conversations with parents all the time. I tell them, if I told you there was a 99% chance that if you got on that operating table or you got in that car, that you would get in an accident and not make it, would you get in there? No, I wouldn't. It's obvious. No, coach, it's a no-brainer. Well, those are the statistics for kids that's going to make it to play pro level, NFL professional. Why would we put so much in? And again, this is somebody who loves sports. What I'm saying is make sure there's other options. Make sure they have a brand, they have an identity, because I go to these campuses and I see some of these kids, when they're done with football, it's going to be a tough road for them. And thankful for yourself and I who had the wherewithal, parents, to keep us pushing and understand education. But a lot of them it's going to be a lost road for them if they don't figure out, get with somebody, JQ Sports PR. Sorry about that.
You're
both
good.
on a tangent there.
That just shows that we're passionate and we care about these athletes.
Yes.
Because we've had to go through it.
Yes.
And I just want to make sure that, and I get it in life, we all go through trials and tribulations and struggles. But if I can help you to not go down the same road that I went down, I'm gonna speak on it. I'm going to voice it whether you like it or not.
You should be in my opinion, a black father, and I'm not just all athletes, but unfortunately I'm talking to my community. You should be the wave. Like you should be a star. Like you're giving them generational stuff that you're talking about can help them. Like, and I think we miss it. I've been on this village kick lately. I've been telling people I'm a villager. Like I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear. I'm going to tell you what you need to hear.
What you need to hear.
And so, like the stuff me teaching public speaking, we should be stars and promoted. Go see that guy. He's going to give you something that's going to help you make dollars on dollars if this doesn't work out. So I'm sorry, Kyla.
Kyla.
The parent and the coach came out of us. But what do you want the people to know about JQ Sports PR? How do they find you? What do they do to get in contact with you?
I'm very easy to find on social media. All of my social media platforms is consistent, JQ Sports PR. So if that's going to be via DM on my website, jqsportspr.com, you can find me on there. Don't be afraid to send me a DM. I may not be able to answer your question because I don't know everything. If I don't have the answer for you, I'm going to point you in the right direction that I'm confident in. I don't refer people just to be throwing them off to the wolves. I'm going to try to help you the best way that I can. So I'm not, what Deion's saying to say, I'm not hard to find.
But not hard to find. I'm getting you out of here because I know we getting time and we probably can go forever. Two more things. I want to end with that, with the PR. What does helping athletes mean to you? Obviously, the money isn't huge like we talked about earlier, but you're doing stuff. What does that mean to you to be able to help athletes?
To help athletes, I think that's my calling. That's my purpose while I'm here on earth. I solely believe that 1,000%. Helping young athletes. Because if I can be a part of that journey where you reach your greatest potential on and off the playing field, I've done my job.
Right.
I don't have to be there with you every step of the way. But if I was a part of that journey, if we had a 3-minute conversation about the importance of building a personal brand or representing yourself in a positive light when you're out in public, because when you think no one's watching, somebody is watching.
Yes.
So just being a part of that athlete's journey, and they met their definition of success, that makes me feel, I can't explain the feeling, but I know that I've done my job. I've done God's job, because again, this is not something that I just woke up and wanted to do one day. I think this was instilled in me from the very beginning. God didn't want me to play professionally because he knew I had
more reach, more stuff to be done.
Come on now.
JQ, what are your future aspirations? What is the future for JQ?
Where do you see yourself in like 5 to 10 years?
Where I see myself 5 to 10 years is a successful PR firm helping the under the radar athletes. I don't go after the 4 or 5 star athletes. Why? Because I wasn't a 4 or 5 star athlete.
Right.
So I understand being counted out. See how I put that in there? The feeling of being counted out, people not giving you that recognition. So if I can help you enhance that, again, that just makes me feel like I've done my job. So having a successful PR firm, working with athletes from all sports. See, I don't want to just focus on, I've been tapping into football. I had my first football client a couple of months ago, Cam Jackson out of Florida. I also have Willie Wilson Jr. out of Tennessee, class of 2026. So I've been tapping into football, but I want to expand. I want to expand into women basketball, volleyball. I used to have a scholarship. I had a scholarship out of high school to play college volleyball. I want to get into lacrosse,
another
baseball,
big one. Yes.
Soccer, pickleball.
Yes.
I've been taking a few classes. My family members laugh at me. They're like, "You're not going to take pickleball seriously if you play." I'm like, do you know how much money they can make?
LeBron's in pickleball.
Yes. It's the number one growing sport right now. So definitely, being a successful PR firm, helping all athletes. That's where I see myself 5 to 10 years from now. And I don't want to be famous. I want to make money and help people. I'm okay being behind the scenes. If no one knows how you got that podcast interview, I'm okay with that. I know I was part of that.
Right.
I'm fine with that. So
that's called being at peace with yourself.
Yeah. And my peace of mind is everything.
Well, JQ, it's been awesome. I'm going to call anything before we get JQ out of here.
I'm good, but
this was great. Shout out to you guys. And you, young lady, you keep doing what you're doing. Don't let anybody or anything get in your way. Because a lot of kids don't have the support like you do.
Thank you.
So don't take advantage of that.
All right, Kyle, you want to get us out of here? But before you do, JQ, thank you again. Thanks, Fonz, for you guys carving out some time. Like I told you, I'm going to keep harping on it. Biggest resource that we have is time.
Yeah.
I value, you want to see me get mad, waste my time. Because that's how important it is to me. So thank you for sharing time with me. Thank you for dropping gems, as they say. I'm looking forward to cutting this up and putting it out there. Kyle, you want to get us out here?
Yes. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you guys follow us on all platforms at Sports Talk by Youth. And thank you, JQ, for tuning in. And we'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Peace.